noticed, Chess, is that when my life gets so busy, which it does for all of us sometimes, that I really kind of forget about really connecting to those things that I know are really true.
Yeah.
That I've come to really realize that.
Yeah. Is it like it's harder to connect to that part of yourself? That it's just not as available to you because there's so much noise going on the outside?
Yeah, it's all the chaos, and the noise is a great way to put it. Like, I almost can't hear the internal things that I've come to realize.
Right. And I think it's become such an addiction for us to believe that we're going to get the answers in our head, or we're going to get our answers in, if we can figure things out, and if we can, we're going to find the answers out there. And often, sometimes we do, but we have to marry that, right, to our own internal knowing, to our own internal intuition. And how do we gain more access to that, or make that a more easy access into what do I really know? What do I really feel is true for me in this moment? And so many, in my own life as well, when I get really discombobulated and I'm thinking about, okay, what's the move I've got to make? It's less about logistically figuring it out and more about going quiet and being able to listen deeply to what I already know within me. And so that comes through our creating of more stillness and more simplicity and more space in our lives. That is really scary for a lot of people. If I do that, like, I don't have time to do all that. I'm trying to figure stuff out. It's like, yeah, but you'd be able to know your way through the world better if you created this beautiful stillness in your life as well that gives you access to what you already know, your intuitive sense. I used to work down in Baja doing sea kayaking trips around Espiritu Santo Island down in the Sea of Cortez. And we'd be down there for months and months and months and leading group trips. So people would come out for a week, we'd lead them around the island for a week, they'd go off, another group would show up and we'd lead them around the island for a week. So the other guides and our lives were just stars and sea and sand and hikes, and we had very little noise in our lives. We were really tuned in, we really felt into our world. And I remember one evening we were chopping vegetables for dinner, and the other guides and I we got the table, we're chopping our vegetables, and we're on the beach, and the wind shifted, just a little shift, and the temperature shifted just a little bit. Maybe there was a new smell to the wind coming off the ocean in a different way. And at the exact same time, myself and the other two guides all stopped. We all looked up at each other and felt the wind and went, get the tarps, it's going to rain later on tonight. Start preparing. We were so tuned into the little nuance, this little shift in our environment. So we can do the same thing with our own internal environment, but we have to be in a space where there's less noise so we can actually listen and hear what's going on. Another time, same thing down in Baja. One morning, one of the guides woke me up in my tent and he said, "Ches, los cayucos se fueron." The kayaks, they have gone. We had them up on the beach overnight. And he said, "The kayaks, they are gone." And it was the end of the season, and we were packing up the kayaks. And I'm thinking, okay, good, you're letting me know that you've gone ahead and packed up the kayaks for the season. He comes back like 10 minutes later, I'm not up, and he's like, "Ches, the kayaks, dude, they're gone." I'm like, "You mean they're gone? He goes, "Yeah, they're not on the beach anymore. They were last night, they're not this morning." And so we go down to the beach, and sure enough, the tide had risen higher than we thought it was going to overnight, and the tide had lifted these kayaks up off the beach and floated them away overnight. It's like 10 kayaks, $2,000 kayaks, they're all gone. We're going to get fired. Our boss is not going to be happy with us. And so each one of us just kind of stopped for a moment and went, okay, high tide was around 2 in the morning. I remember waking up in the middle of the night. I had to go out and go to the bathroom, and I remember there was a little bit of a wind coming from this direction. And we know what the currents were doing. And so all three of us were able to jump in the ponga in the skiff. And from our beach, we were like, okay, the wind was coming from this direction at this time of night. And so let's just go that direction. Sure enough, we found all the kayaks up in the mangrove trees where the high tide had deposited them. And the tide had dropped again. And it was like going to a kayak store and going, yeah, I'll take that one and that one. So all these kayaks were just hanging out there waiting for us. But we only were able to do that because we were so in tune to our environment. We knew what to do, where to go, where to find our answers, where to find what we were looking for. So we need to do the same thing in our own lives, is create enough quiet and enough awareness and stillness so we can be really clear and tuned into our internal environment, our relationship environments, the work environment around us. Less rushing from one thing to the next and more quiet, so we learn how to listen to what's going on within.